It's time for another over underrated, and today we are revisiting the Sony Playstation exclusive Days Gone, produced by Sony's Bend Studios. Days Gone is a 2019 action-adventure survival horror game set in post-apocalyptic Oregon, 2 years after the start of a global pandemic. Former outlaw-turned-drifter Deacon St discovers the possibility of his wife Sarah possibly being alive, which leads Deacon on a quest to find her. The game was wildly divisive on release, having a large variance between user and critic score, with our weighted score for this review being 76%. But that's why we do these over-unders, is to see whether the game was a victim of its Sony exclusive hype. Was it just a dud, or is it a game time has been kind to? Full transparency on this one, I am playing Days Gone via PSN Plus, so I didn't pay for the game, and it's running on the upgraded PS5 version, which runs in a stunning 60 FPS at 4K. Enough of the boring stuff though, this is Lost in the World, and welcome to the over-under for Days Gone. There's no other way to put it, but the PlayStation 5 upgrade for Days Gone is transformative. As I said at the start, running at 4K and 60 FPS, it is fluid and beautiful. However, I will add this, and I hope this doesn't come across as lazy comparisons on my end, but it really feels like a lot of these assets were just borrowed from other games, especially The Last of Us. From the noises of the zombies, to the UI and the crafting images, even what you use to craft the things, it definitely made it feel like I'd seen this before, but that doesn't stop it from surprising me in a good way. Special shout out to the music, which again, though inspired from the Last of Us style, it's really good and it adds a lot of emotional depth to the game. Some of the cutscenes have some jarring start animations that reared their heads sometimes, but overall it's highly impressive. I mean, this is an old game and the PlayStation 5 upgrade is fantastic. It really I think adds to Days Gone significantly compared to the PS4 version of the game.
Deke, you remember when we first rode out of Farewell? What that was like?
Yeah, I remember.
The highways they were all choked up with cars. There were so many people, all on the move, thinking that if they could only go fast enough, that they'd outrun what was coming.
Though rough around the edges, the overall delivery of the story is quite heartwarming. Days Gone is one of those games you want to keep giving chances to. I can't quantify that in any other way or give you a specific reason why either. The game just has a feel of a game you're wishing to win you over. Days Gone does suffer from some neck-breaking tonal shifts in characters, something that you may or may not turn a blind eye to depending on how much you warm to the game. The main character is extremely likeable. I really liked Deacon St, and his love for his best friend is well delivered. Though I did find some of his grumbles to sound eerily familiar to the ramblings of a drunk uncle at Christmas.
Time, I was still a like a giant marshmallow. Falls out of the fingerless gloves were essential.
The cutscenes are done pretty well overall. The theme of a world where humanity has lost its humanity to survive and accepted that fate is handled with delicacy and heart. I thought the flashbacks to his relationships with his partner were well done. They could easily have been cheesy, but the producers pull at the heartstrings just enough to avoid it feeling cheap or exploitative. It's nothing mind-blowing, it's solid, heartwarming storytelling. Again though, is it just me or does this guy sound pretty similar to Troy Barker? This further adds to the feeling of having seen it all before, but eventually the voice actor playing Deacon does do the character justice and manage to impose his own personality on the character. The best part for me of Days Gone though is the world building. The barren and dangerous zombie world of Days Gone is believable and is definitely the star of the show. Now maybe the PlayStation 5 upgrade significantly helps in that, but for me, the world was beautiful and it was brilliant to traverse it on your bike. The scavenging life that has befallen humanity is well sold by the world Deacon inhabits, including the way the different factions are split up. The constant threat of hordes, vigilantes, the army, or even just a lack of fuel in the tank adds an edge to the exploration in Days Gone. That definitely adds an extra dimension and layer of tension. Yes, the game borrows heavily from other open world games. You have the zombies of The Last of Us, the main character's voice from The Last of Us, the crafting materials and symbols from The Last of Us, the animal skinning from Red Dead 2, the hunt vision from The Witcher, and so on and so on. But weirdly enough, it didn't bother me at all outside of the first hour or two of the game. Initially, the game feels like a straight rip-off of the above named games, but eventually it does carve a path of its own. Yes, you will clear areas of the map, but it doesn't feel like busy work initially at least. It's all interwoven into the storyline via the excellent world building done by Ben Studio. It makes sense to clear out nests of zombies to make travelling safer. It makes sense that the roads are full of ambushes and murderers who hunt you down. Early on, the story sets up a need to constantly check on your brother in arms, and the relationship sells the work you need to do for him. Yes, it borrows bits from here and there, but it puts them together in its own way and produces its own path. If you want it to be, the game is huge, and there's a lot of side missions and extra jobs you can do. As you may know by now, I'm not the biggest fan of open world busy work or endless tasks, so I stuck to the main path mostly. One great thing about the open world missions in Days Gone is that there are really good crafting recipes hidden behind them. This does incentivize you to do these jobs. Personally, however, this game is heavily bloated at the back end, and about 20 or so hours in, it starts feeling like it will never end. It feels like there's about 15 different story quests running side by side, and honestly, it just became really overwhelming in the end, and I actually enjoyed the game and loved the main character.
I just need a few days and some antibiotics. I'll do whatever it takes.
There's heart here that's easy to admire. Forgive me for trotting out cliches, but you really feel Ben Studios poured its all into this project. It's very much a very long slice of comfort food. There's a good game in here somewhere, but it's buried in a meandering storyline, repetitive missions, and just too much obligatory stuff to do without an eye on the smaller details that could have given it a bit more focus and a bit more character. The thing is, if you have a lot of character but you stretch it out over 50 hours, it does get watered down. That's just the nature of how we consume content. The game clocks in at around 35 to 50 hours depending on how much you engage with it. My overwhelming feeling was I could spend 50 hours playing a game that's, let's say, a 9 out of 10 game. Not this. Not just 1 or 2, but 3. That's not to say it's bad, but playing a good game for 10 hours is very different to playing a good game for 50 hours. In the 50 hours it takes for me to play Days Gone, I could finish Doom Eternal, The Last of Us Part 1, and Resident Evil Village. I'm just saying I know which one I'd rather do, and I'm not disrespecting Days Gone. I really liked it. I wanted to like it more. So basically it's a frequently gorgeous, heartwarming, if eventually sadly generic, overly bloated open world game that runs out of steam well before its extended playtime is over. And that's the key thing I want to get along with Days Gone. It's actually a good game, but man, they stretched it out for way too long. I mean, the train should have come to a stop a lot earlier than it did. But it definitely did not deserve some of the review scores it got. So, I mean, some people were giving this game a 3, 4, 5 out of 10. I understand the initial release was buggy, but that's not the release I'm reviewing. It is without a doubt a game that was victim to its huge Sony exclusive hype. Yes, it never delivered on that hype, but it is most definitely underrated. The game deserves a solid to strong 7, and it's slightly underrated overall. If this game had a narrower focus and a streamlined story, it would benefit for it. Less is more sometimes. Less is more, it really is.